Hi everyone, it's Roy Reads Anything channel, brought to you by Mr. Roy and Dr. Jennie.
Hello everybody.
And we thought we'd do a kind of a catch-up, well, kind of a June wrap-up, I think you could say. It's recent reads,
yeah.
For about the past month or so. So I don't know. Do you want to go first? My wife, Nusha Fox.
Fool. Shall I go first? Mine is a tale of woe. Woe. I'm going through a terrible dry spell with reading. I keep starting books and finding them to be lacking, shall we say. I don't read anywhere as near as much as Roy does. I probably get through a couple of books a month, maybe 3 on a good day. But yeah, I've been hampered by the rubbishness. So the first book I can remember this month, The Seeker by S.G. McLean. I've read other stuff by S.G. McLean. She wrote a series, I think based in Aberdeen in the late 16th, possibly early 17th century, about a character called Alexander Seton, who solves mysteries. And I've read a standalone by her called The Bookseller of Inverness, which I really enjoyed, which was set during the end of the Jacobite rebellion in Scotland, and it's based in Inverness, town I know slightly because we've been there on holiday, so it felt I felt at home there, and I loved The Bookseller of Inverness very much indeed. So I thought, she's got a new series set in London during the protectorate of Oliver Cromwell, which is after the English Revolution, as the battles have finished. So it's set in 1652, and the seeker of the title is called, I can't even remember his first name, this is how much I didn't bother with this book, Something Seeker. His name is Something Seeker, and he's Cromwell's chief intelligencer, and somehow in a way that nobody ever explains to me. He knows everything there is to know about everybody, including things like what they had for breakfast and stuff. And I stuck with it because I thought it's got to get better, because S.G. McLean writes good and I like what she writes. But it didn't get better, it just got boring. Not really boring, to the point where I just went, nah, deafing this out, mate. So,
not just that you weren't in the mood for that kind of thing.
No, I was well in the mood for it. I was ever so disappointed. And it makes me not want to buy any of her series. But there's another standalone one that I haven't read that I might give a go to. But yeah, she let me down.
Wow.
She let me down.
Okay, well,
I'm going to go with one while
I'll
people
go
get
with
over
one
that.
Yeah, so I had good month really. One thing was The Watchers by Jon Steele. So this also is the start of a series, and it was a group read on Criminoli's Patreon. So I just plunged in without knowing too much about it, but the blurb sets the scene. Lausanne, Switzerland. In the cathedral tower lives a strange boy with a limp who talks to the bells. In a luxury penthouse lives a high-class prostitute who's in mortal danger. And in a low-rent hotel lives a private investigator who has no idea how he got there. So it's the narrative follows these 3 characters, and to start with, it's like, well, how are these people going to intersect? There's a prologue that's obviously gives it a little bit of a supernatural flavour, but then there's no supernatural stuff for a while, so it's, you don't really know what kind of book it's going to be. And I loved it. It eventually it turns into this kind of, it's sort of mystical battleground kind of thing. I won't say too much because kind of revelation of the nature of some of the people and entities involved is what drives the sort of mystery of the story, really. But it does end up with its sort of cosmic battleground kind of thing, and obviously the three characters are involved with each other. I really liked it. It's a first novel. I think perhaps it had a little bit of first novelitis of kind of let's include everything. I mean, the guy obviously knows a lot about Lausanne, which is interesting, but maybe you get a little bit too much of it. The setting of the cathedral and the bells and stuff like that, it's great, but just maybe there's a little bit too much of it. But also, I think books like this, where it's like a what's happening sort of build up, there's a danger sometimes when you do know what's happening. It's like, oh, I see. It's like it's that versus that, and then it's just like people chasing each other in a big fight. This doesn't suffer from that, in that, yes, there's all that. What is it? Oh, it's revealed in stages, and then the action that kicks off is kind of does keep you hooked as well. So I could see myself coming back to Jon Steele's Watchers series. So that was good. So books can be good.
They can. I might have a go at that one.
Yeah.
Choices are so disappointing. I'll tell you about my other...
Stop choosing things. That's the only answer.
Tell you about my other disappointments.
That's why I'm always doing book events, because it takes the element of choice out of it. At least you're not to blame yourself.
You can always say Ollie made me do it.
We can always say that.
You can always say Ollie made me
Conn Iggulden, he's reliable.
Yeah, Conn Iggulden. He's never let me down more than twice. So, yeah. So, my next Deft Out book. After the disappointment of... His name was Damien Seeker. Damien Seeker. After the disappointment of The Seeker, featuring Damien Seeker, I thought, I'll have a straight historical. I'll have a Conn Iggulden. Conn Iggulden, Lion. Which is set in ancient Greece. A hero will rise, an empire will be born. And it's about Pericles. Now, I've read two others of his stuff set in ancient Greece, which I really enjoyed. One was about the Battle of Thermopylae, I think. There was one about that had the Battle of Marathon in it, and there was a lot of fighting.
When people get their swords out, does it go snicker? Confectionery
That's
joke.
A very
there.
British confectionery joke.
Okay, proceed.
Anyway, I've read a couple by him. They've been set in Athens, and there's been fighting, hoplites and that kind of stuff, hoplites. So I thought, yeah, Pericles. I don't know anything about him. I'll read that. God, it's boring. It's not just boring. I think Conn Iggulden employs various teams to write various books. So I think I'm right in saying he's got a series about Julius Caesar, which I've read a couple of and really enjoyed. I started to read Dunstan, which is set in the early medieval Britain, earlier in the year, and I deffed that one out because it was rubbish. And I think this must be written by the same team of Conn Iggulden writers, because it's just it made me so tired. It's not just boring, it's badly written boring. It does things like 3 characters stood on the deck of a ship. 2 of them have got to go to a meeting in one of the cabins downstairs. The third one, the only woman, is ordered to stay by these 2 blokes. Is ordered to stay on deck. They go down, she follows them. Neither of them turns around and goes, no, you've got to stay on deck, Mrs. Woman. They just seem to ignore the fact that she drifts after them into this room where they're having this super secret meeting. And it's not till the two blokes who are actually already in the room go, she can't stay, that they go, oh no, of course she can't, go back upstairs, love. And it's just like, it's like he'd forgotten that they'd already told her to stay upstairs and done nothing to enforce her staying upstairs. And now they make her go upstairs. And it's just like, hang on a minute, mate. Just keep abreast of your own plot line, will you? And it's little details like that that make me think, no, Jennie, don't waste your time. And then there's things like the main point of view character is Pericles, so it's third person past tense narrative, which is fine. But very occasionally the point of view changes to one of the other characters for no apparent reason except that Pericles couldn't possibly have seen that little bit of the action and he's got to get it in the plot. And that kind of feels a bit amateur to me. Either a narrative is single person point of view or it's specified multiple persons point of view with and Marge Piercy does this really well. She has a group of maybe 12 characters and each chapter will be named after the character who it is, so you know where you are and you know how that chapter relates to other chapters. Or you've got a God point of view where the narrator is telling you about all the people and what they're doing. And I just think to swap from single person point of view to suddenly insert tiny little bits of other points of view, it just feels slack to me. It just feels very slack.
You should join us on the Ulysses read, then you never know who's narrating what.
Yeah, but you're just mad, you guys.
Yeah, we didn't write the book.
So that one went to the discard pile.
It's funny, isn't it? I wonder if our artists can't do faces anymore.
No.
Because this guy's got a full face helmet on. Damien Seeker is walking away from you. I'm sure I've seen loads of covers with a figure with their back to you walking off into
Whereas
the distance.
in your own home life, all faces are revealed.
Yeah, in their true nature. Truer than reality. It's only, whatever we do, it's only a load of pixels, isn't it?
It is. Life is just a load of pixels.
I read something good, so June was June on the Range. I didn't do much June on the Range stuff. I read a Black Horse Western I talked about last time. And I got a Louis L'Amour out down from the loft, / attic, under the Sweetwater Inn. Tell Bit you're frightening people. So Louis L'Amour, absolute classic Western writer, and it totally delivered. I think he's a really reliable writer. I've never read one I didn't like. This one, I think I told you the beginning of the story. There's a wagon train gone missing. There's been a massacre of people, and there's these renegades that were responsible, but they haven't found one of the wagon things that has like a people and some money in it. And then there's, anyway, all of that, full of action, loads of characters and stuff. So I was thinking while I read it about some of the things that a Western writer, a really good Western writer need, because I think a really good Western writer is like they're 5 writers in one. So partly they're a great writer of action and adventure, because it's that kind of genre. You need page-turning stuff. You need to be able to write those kind of scenes and have that kind of tension and so on. So it's action and adventure, but it's a kind of historical writing. So this is too, that they're a sort of historical novelist as well. It's, the more accurate you want to feel that they're accurate about all the background stuff and where you're at and stuff like that. And somewhere there's a reader who's going to, those guns weren't invented until 1873.
That's not how you make gin.
But they're about people as well. There's sometimes there's a bit of romance in this, for instance, just a little bit, but it's got to be done well. But all the relationships, all the human stuff's got to be written well too. But also, it's a kind of landscape writing. It's what they call place writing these days. So again, that's part of the pleasure of it. I think is the environment. Of this great sort of shared world of the West. Whether it ever existed, don't know, but sort of the topography, the plants, animals, all of that. The better it's done, the better is the book, I would say. And Louis L'Amour does it really well. And finally, I think there's an element of philosophy, because these kind of stories, they're about big things like the nature, justice, right and wrong, what forms the good life, how to act, those kind of things, life and death. So even the most basic, even sort of Edge and Adam Steele books, there's something in them about stoicism, but there's an element of like because it's a frontier, people are forging their own sort of destinies. Well, what destiny are you forging? So I think that's the thing as well. So yeah, Western writers, 5 writers in one. Hooray!
Huzzah!
Well, something we both did that we both liked.
We did.
Looking back a little bit, was
a very lot.
Midsummer, because a couple of weeks ago it was Midsummer. There was the solstice, and there's the sort of 4 days of Midsummer. So we watched A Midsummer Night's Dream.
We did.
This 1999 movie version with Rupert Everett, Callista Flockhart, Kevin Kline, Michelle Pfeiffer, Stanley Tucci, and a host of others. So
and it was great.
A Hollywood Midsummer Night's Dream.
It was
good.
lovely. It was really lovely.
Yeah.
Stanley Tucci was Puck, which suited him down to the ground because he's got such a puckish little face. Puck is kind of a spirit who goes over the place and puts a girdle around the earth in 40 minutes, and basically he does stuff for Oberon, who's the king of the fairies.
He does the magic stuff, doesn't he, really?
Stuff,
Yeah. He's slightly alarming as well.
Yeah, Kevin Kline was Bottom. He was good as Bottom. Bottom's usually played as an utter buffoon, and Kevin Kline managed to get some depth into a part that is often played very broadly. They're all good. The costumes are great. Obviously, because they've got movie budget, not stage budget. It's set in the real world bit of it is set in a real town.
Yeah.
And the forest bit of it is set on a soundstage, I think, because they made it look not like a real place at all. I think that's intentional. And I just loved it.
Yeah,
I really thought it was terrific.
It's not green screen. It's a practical set, which is nice.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's worth watching for.
It's a comedy.
It's a comedy
By Shakespeare.
We didn't. It's We just assumed you all knew what it was. Sorry, but you probably do, so that's right. There's a play within a play which features what are known as the Rude Mechanicals, which is this group of town artisans, really, aren't they? Of whom Bottom is one. And one of the men plays in the play within a play plays the part of Thisbe, a woman. And is it
Sam Rockwell?
Sam Rockwell, not Dean Stockwell, like I keep saying.
No.
Sam Rockwell
been good too.
plays Thisbe, and Thisbe's last speech, I will tell you nothing other than that it is one of the finest bits of stagecrafting, directorial choice, whatever, that I've ever seen in an adaptation of Shakespeare.
Good
I
Lord.
think.
That's
It's
high
fantastic. It's
high
just
praise, because we've seen a lot of Shakespeare.
because we've seen a lot of Shakespeare. But no, I'd be hard pressed to think of something that that came as more of a surprise.
Sorry, I'm just seeing it features some mild sensuality.
It did. It was mild.
It is lush and a little
Yeah,
bit sexy when it
yeah,
needs to be.
yeah.
It's a bit 90s.
Yeah.
But yeah, good.
It's a lot of wispy clothing, but it's lovely. Lovely.
Had at
Lovely.
A Midsummer Night's Dream in other ways.
Of course you did.
This was going to be a whole video, so I made a thumbnail for it I was quite proud of, so you're going to get that, even though the video didn't work.
We did it, but it broke.
Yeah, the video broke. It broke us.
It did.
Look what's happened to her. She transformed into a fox. Yeah, so read the text. I read this RSC edition, which is good. I know, sorry. So I can't talk over you, but I visualise over you. I also read Arden Shakespeare, see what an Arden edition's like, and they seem to be more full-on academic, really, but yeah, always good to read the text. I got from the library the Midsummer Night's Dream episode of Neil Gaiman's Sandman. Sandman comes in a collection called Dream Country. So in this, Dream, the protagonist of this comic book series, he has commissioned Shakespeare to write the play, and he brings the fairies themselves to Earth to see it for the first time. Particularly liked the fact that it's set in on the South Downs of England, where there's a chalk figure called the Long Man of Wilmington in real life. And in this, the Long Man is he's holding these two things, usually thought to be two staffs, but in this, that's like a gateway that he opens. So the Long Man opens the portal for the fairy creatures to come through, see themselves in the play. So it's interesting, quite funny seeing their reactions. Also, Puck, Robin the Goodfellow,
Stanley Tucci.
Yes, in this we brings out the sort of slightly scary elements of this, an all-powerful sprite. So that's one thing you didn't get in that one. Is any sense of him being slightly menacing?
Can I just say that we spent your 40th birthday at Wilmington?
We did, yes.
In a rather lovely old manor housey thing.
Yeah.
And we invited friends over. And
we so did. So
it's
this turf we've been on.
We saw that long man.
Long time ago, yeah. And then finally I read Garry Kilworth, A Midsummer Nightmare, where all those fairy characters, Oberon, Titania, Puck, all of those, turns out they actually live in Sherwood Forest. They persuaded Shakespeare to move it to Greece in his play to preserve their privacy. And because Sherwood Forest has been shrinking and shrinking and shrinking, they're losing their powers. So present day, they kidnap a mechanic, an auto mechanic, because with their powers of changeling, grabbing people, stuff like that. He is the rude mechanical, isn't he?
Yes.
And they get an old bus and they go down the M1 to relocate to the New Forest, and comedy ensues. So yeah, top work by Garry Kilworth, although it wasn't the best what's the word, Kindle book. I think the transcription, there were missing apostrophes and some words spelled wrong and stuff like that, but nevertheless I persisted.
Can I just say then,
I don't know, who are you asking?
I'm asking the world, can I? I'm saying it. I'm hoping, after the sadness of my Connie Iggulden and the other thing,
You're giving up on books altogether.
To break my duck, to use a cricketing metaphor, with Rogue Herries.
Oh, right, yes.
Which I started last night.
Here we are in July.
Rogue July.
Reading Hugh Walpole's historical novel.
Yeah, so first time I'm ever joining in with a
one of your husband's own events.
Is that what it's
Yeah,
called?
yeah,
a reading
yeah.
event.
Well, you did participate in June on the Range last year
Oh,
when you read
God, yeah.
Buckskin 39, but you've obviously blotted that out of your memory.
Never has so much sex been had on so much sandy ground with so little adverse effect to the genitalia of either party.
That's why he wears the buckskin. Softened with multiple uses.
It was rubbish. It was so rubbish.
Well, let's hope that the 20th century's best-selling author Hugh Walpole will be better than that.
Well, I enjoyed the 4 pages of it I read last night before I
fell
slumped
asleep.
forward. Roy had to remind me to take my glasses off.
We'll report on that as we progress.
We will.
So that was our June reading, more or less.
More or less.
Yeah. I think we'll be back soon with something else.
Something else. Try a bit.
Okay, bye.